This meeting to order. We are now resuming meeting number 25 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure and Communities. Pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on Thursday, February 3rd, 2022, the committee is meeting to study reducing red tape and costs on rural and urban Canadian airports. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format. Pursuant to the House Order of November 25th, 2021, members are attending in person, in the room, and remotely using the Zoom application.
10th, 2022. All those attending this meeting in person must wear a mask, except for members who are at their place during proceedings. I'd like to make a few comments for the benefits of those in the room as well as members. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. For those participating by video conference, click on the microphone icon to activate your mic, and please mute yourself when you are not speaking. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. For members in the room, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. For members on Zoom, please use the raise hand function, and the clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best we can and appreciate your patience and understanding in this regard. At the time of suspension, colleagues, the committee was debating MP Bachrach's motion, more specifically a sub-amendment moved by MP Rogers to the amendment by MP Koutrakis. When the committee suspended, MP Koutrakis had the floor, and MP Bachrach, MP Badaway, and MP Rogers were next on the speaking list. Are there any other members that wish to be added to the list before I turn the floor back over to Ms. Koutrakis? Seeing none, Ms. Koutrakis, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues. And I trust we all had a great Father's Day celebration this past weekend. Over the weekend I reflected, and, it's really unfortunate that the debate got contentious last week. Up until this moment, I truly believe, and I think we will all agree, that the committee has been operating on a fairly cordial basis so far, and it is my hope that we could get back on track. We are not necessarily opposed to NDP motion, but we are concerned about the precedents that it might set when it comes to the production of paper motions. My colleague Xavier raised some really valid points at the last meeting about the wording that I used in my amendment to the motion with regard to, only taking studies that support the mandate. So well received and very appreciated. Colleagues, I would be willing to withdraw my amendment and would propose that we simply revert back to NDP original wording, but add the following clause as it was proposed by my colleague, Mr. Rogers, at the last meeting. And I quote what the addition would be, and that the production of documents be consistent with relevant legislation concerning confidentiality. If we can agree to vote in support of the NDP motion, I think that would be great. It would allow us to move forward with the very important business that we have at hand. And I hope that we will receive support on the committee to go forward with this amendment.
Thank you very much, Ms. Koutrakis. Do I have the support of committee members? Yes, Mr. Angus.
Yes, I've spoken with my colleague, Mr. Bachrach, and we're willing to support that, but we would like the wording to be added and be returned to the committee no later than June 20th, 2022. July 20th. I can't even read my own writing. I want it this afternoon. But since it's Monday, I'm going to give you a month. How's that?
I was going to say to my honorable friend across, it's impossible to do it today, but within 30 days, I think that we can all work with those timelines.
Fair play.
Okay, so just a couple of housekeeping things. I have consent to withdraw from the committee to allow Ms. Koutrakis to withdraw. And then I guess I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Rogers, because you were next. Okay, yeah, as discussed, I can go to unanimous consent and skip the three procedures that I have on my list. So if we have unanimous consent from all members, then we will go with that. No objections? You've got that down, analysts? Yeah. There, Mr. Clerk, yeah, you got that down? Everybody's good? Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much, colleagues. We'll turn it over to Monsieur Barcelou-Duval.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't have time last time to do this, but I did have a motion to bring forth. Maybe some members will be relieved that one of them might not be necessary. So Here it is. That pursuant to Standing Order 108-1, an order of the committee be issued for a copy of all relevant documents relating for federal, provincial, bilateral agreements on infrastructure, including the 2018 Canada-Quebec Integrated Bilateral Agreement for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. That these documents include, but are not limited to, 1. All communications, including letters, emails, text messages, and messages on internal messaging software, Skype, Teams, Messenger, so on, between the offices of the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure, and Communities, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Minister of Finance, and with the governments of Quebec, the provinces, and territories. All communications, including letters, emails, text messages, and messages on internal messaging software, Skype, Teams, Messenger, so on, between the Office of the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure, and Communities in Infrastructure Canada officials and the Intergovernmental Affairs Secretariat. All communications, including letters, emails, text messages, and messages on internal messaging software, Skype, Teams, Messenger, etc., between Infrastructure Change Canada officials and the Intergovernmental Affairs Secretariat. Documents that track or show changes and differences in bilateral agreements between the federal government, Quebec, the provinces and territories, all versions of the terms and conditions of the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the Gas Tax Fund, now the Community Building Fund, the Clean Water and Wastewater Fund, the Public Transit Infrastructure Fund, and the 2014
Tous les dites versions étaient en vigueur et des soumissions
2016 New Building Canada Fund, along with the dates for which said versions were in effect, as well as Treasury Board submissions for the approval of the aforementioned program's terms and conditions.
visant l'approbation des modalités du programme.
I don't know if I do have to read the whole thing because everybody received it. I can continue. I think that everybody understood what I'm talking about. So the goal essentially is, for the last line, we do want that the documents be provided to the committee in unredacted form within 30 calendar days of the adoption of this order. Ms. Katrakis. Thank you.
I will not be supporting this motion. I really do not think it's necessary. When Minister LeBlanc appeared before the committee during the meeting on main estimates on Monday, May 30th, the minister was asked this question by my colleague, Mr. Barcelou-Duval, to which the minister answered very clearly. The Minister of Finance has already decided that the provinces that received funding through programs created under federal provincial agreements, such as a Canada-Quebec or Canada-New Brunswick agreement, must commit the funds to projects by March 31st. The funds do not necessarily have to be spent, but the federal government and the Quebec government must agree on a list of projects to receive federal funding. The projects can be spread out over a number of years, and the funds can be dispersed over a period of 10 years after the deadline. If the federal government cannot agree with the Quebec government or New Brunswick government on the list of projects, however, the funds will be recovered by the Receiver General of Canada. We have the same agreement with 10 provincial governments and 3 territorial governments. A number of them have chosen projects and allocated funding more quickly than Newfoundland and Labrador, Quebec, and New Brunswick. The Minister of Finance decided that it would be in the interest of Canada's economy and environment to allocate those funds to projects as quickly as possible. That does not mean that the projects will be completed, but a choice has to be made. The Minister of Finance is anxious to see the funds allocated to projects. Some premiers, however, including the Ontario Premier, are asking me for a 2.0 version of these programs. And me, just for clarification, is Minister LeBlanc, not me, Annie Koutrakis. The Minister of Infrastructure and Communities' job is to work with all the provinces to determine what a second version of these programs might be. The Minister continues to collaborate with provinces and territories to determine more specifically how this second version can offer a solution that is in the interests of both Quebec and the federal government. In conclusion, again, I will not be supporting this motion, but I would be curious to hear how other members feel about it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Koutrakis. Ms. Landsman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'd be inclined to support the motion on the basis that we can have a couple of changes, and I'll I can go through the wording of the motion, but if we would include all federal, bilateral, provincial agreements on infrastructure and change the date since January 1st, 2006. If that was agreed upon by 2016. And if that was agreed upon, so all federal, provincial agreements, and then the date to January 1st, 2016, we would be prepared to support my colleague's motion. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Landsman. Mr. Barcelona.
Ben, ma compréhension, en fait, en réponse à Mme Landsman, c'est que la proposition qu'elle fait, je pense.
My understanding is that what she's suggesting is already in this new version of my motion, and so I had already made the adjustment, unless it's necessary to make new changes, but I am under the impression that we already made those changes. With regards to Ms. Koutrakis' points, I'd just like to say that at the department we had voted for the minister to come and speak to us before June 20th. That's today, and they never accepted our invitation. And so I do hope that they will come and serve as a witness in the committee in order to explain how the decisions are made, how they change the unilateral and bilateral decisions with provinces.
Mr. Angus.
Thank you so much, Chair, and it's an honor to be at the committee with my colleagues. And as a member of the opposition, I love documents. I can't get enough documents. My concern with this is it seems to be a huge expedition to turn over a whole whack of documents that may or may not be related in any way to the work of this committee, and within 30 calendar days. I just don't think it's reasonable. I think we could be more focused in our work. So I just suggest we put it to a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Angus. Seeing no other hands up, I will ask the clerk to go to a recorded division.
Mr. Barcelou-Duval.
Pour.
Ms. Koutrakis.
No.
Mr. Chahal.
No.
Mr. Hardy.
No.
Mr. Iacono.
No.
Mr. Rogers.
No.
Ms. Landsman.
Yes.
Mr. Generou.
Yes.
Mr. Muse.
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
And Mr. Angus.
No.
5 yeas, 6 nays.
The motion does not carry. Yes, Mr. Chahal, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to adjourn.
Okay. Any objection? Okay. Seeing none, this meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, colleagues. Merci.